Mastering the art of follow-up. Through my time here at Primerica, what I've realized is that one of the hardest things for people to learn is the art of following up with people and retaining their people, right? And I've been very proud of what our team and what our organization has done an excellent job in, is that the ratio, the number of people that we recruit to the ratio of what those people actually stay, get licensed, and produce, right? We have a really high ratio on that. And a lot of that I attribute to our ability to follow up. Now, I'm going to tell you something. It is one of the hardest things to learn. It is one of the hardest things for people to get down. I have folks that are with me that have been on my team for years, and they still don't understand some of the basic fundamentals, the basic principles of follow-up. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about why you need to learn how to do follow-up, first off. A lot of Primerica teams don't really pay much attention to follow-up. Their emphasis is on recruiting and bringing in large numbers, and then whoever makes it kind of philosophy, right? There are some that have had success that way. Our philosophy is more of the people that actually come through. If they take the time to do an IBA, we're going to put the time to make sure that we develop a relationship with them, and that we keep them, and that we help produce them to have success, right? So, but why follow up? Well, you got to follow up with people. I'm going to tell you why. One is that people are busy today, or at least in their own mind, they believe that they're extremely busy today. You know, with things like, you know, they work, they've got school, or maybe they have work and school. If they have children, their children have sporting events on the weekend. I mean, for the most part, people, if you were to poll them and ask, hey, how much time do you have a week? Most people would say none. They believe in their own mind that they're extremely busy, right? So you've got to learn how to follow up, master the art of following up with people. They're very distracted today. You know, today people have more distractions than ever before with things like, you know, reality TV, you know, fantasy sports, social media with like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these kinds of things. There's so many things for people to do today. They're so distracted. And you learning how to master follow-up will allow you to navigate through this kind of this minefield, if you will, right? People will talk themselves out of it. If you don't follow up with them, they are immediately, after they've come to a meeting or come to an event or something like that, the very moment that they are out those doors, they have started to talk themselves out of why they can't do this, right? Like they're too young, they're too old, they're not smart enough, they have no experience, you know, they've never succeeded in anything they've ever done, and so they start to talk themselves out of it, right? The other thing is that people that they talk to will also discourage them. So the moment they leave, and if they talk to their parents or their coworkers or their friends, and those folks are just waiting to pounce on them with negativity and to help, you know, fill their mind with reasons why they cannot do this business also. So you following up can help protect them from all these types of things, right? And then their excitement starts to fade immediately. Okay? I believe that when they sit with you for the very first time, or they come to a meeting for the very first time, or a big event, they are excited. And their excitement level is at an all-time high. The only way that that excitement can go is down. Let me show you this chart where I kind of created this for you to give you a visual of what I mean. Okay? If you were to look at this chart, there's two scenarios here. You've got the same person. One of the red line is that they were not followed up with, and the green line is that they were followed up with successfully. So here they are. So this is day one. This is 24 hours after they came to a big event. Their excitement level from day one, the non-followed up person, they're now at an 8, day one. Okay? Day 2, they're now at 7. It's dropping. Day 3, it's at a 4. It dropped drastically. Day 4, it's at day 3, it dropped to a 4. Day 4, it's at a 2. Day 5, it's at a 1. That's their excitement. Day 6, it's back at a 0. By day 7, they're a -1. Now they don't even want to, they're not answering your calls. They've gone to the witness protection program, and you're never going to see them again, right? And so for new people, when they bring guests, without them understanding what's happening to their guests, they'll do stuff like they'll have them come to a meeting, and then they'll tell them stuff like, well, we have a meeting next week, just come to the next meeting, right? And their excitement is gone by that point, and they wonder why those people don't show up ever again, right? So the second person, or the second scenario, is the person that was followed up with, okay? So they came to the meeting, same meeting, Day 1, their excitement level was at an 8. Day 2 was at a 7. But they meet and they followed up with the person that invited them there. And so now their excitement after that day goes back up because you were there, able to follow up with them and answer their questions and get them re-engaged, get them re-excited. But now after that, their excitement level then starts to drop again. But if you're able to meet with them again in the next 24 to 48 hours, now their excitement comes back up. And then after that, again, it starts to drop again. And then you meet with them again the next 24 to 48 hours. And now they're back at a 9. So by the next meeting, not only are they at the meeting, but they're excited, they're fired up, and maybe they're even bringing people by that point. Okay? So if you notice, the trend is that with follow-up, a successful follow-up scenario, you're able to follow up with them every 24 to 48 hours for the first 7 to 10 days. Okay? We call this the 15 hours, right? So if you got this visual, you know that if you don't follow up with them, their excitement level is going one way, and it's going one way fast, and that's down. Okay? So what are some of the fundamentals to following up? Well, let's go over these because, again, this part is what a lot of folks fail to learn and learn quickly, all right? So what they are is that you got to schedule the follow-up time before they leave you. So we've got an event coming up this weekend, and we're going to have a lot of people that are bringing guests. You may be bringing guests to this event. Once your guest is there, you have got to schedule a follow-up time with them before they leave. You cannot let them leave the meeting or the event without a follow-up time set. You have got to get them to set a follow-up time. That's number one. If that's all you take from this training today, if that's all you take, it was a success for you. That when your guest shows up, you did all the work to get them there. That's the hard part. Now, you don't let them leave without a follow-up scheduled time set, then you're getting it. You got it, right? Now, the tragedy is when people bring their guests and they let them leave without a follow-up time set. Because their excitement level drops, right? And now you've got to call them to try to schedule and set up that follow-up time. And now it's tough. Now you are now in chase mode, which is one of the positions that you don't ever really want to be in Primerica. That's the non-fun part to be in, right? And their excitement level is at an all-time high at the meeting. So that's the easiest and best time to set a schedule of follow-up time is right there at the meeting. It only goes south from that point on, right? So you don't want to be chasing people, and this is how you avoid doing that. Folks, I live and die by this thing. You know, if I have a guest that shows up to a meeting and they're leaving, right at the end of the meeting, they're leaving, then I will follow them down and I will get to them because I want them to make sure that we schedule that follow-up time. I do not let them leave without that set. You must schedule the follow-up time in 24 to 48 hours. That is a big deal. So all the folks that show up to our big event, you got to make sure that you schedule a 24 to 48 hour time, within 24 to 48 hours follow-up time that you meet with them. Okay, it's imperative. You've got to do that. You have to fight like crazy to do that. Is it easy? No, it is an art form. But those that master it grow their teams the biggest. I promise you that. Okay. Set location that's most convenient to them. So when I'm scheduling this follow-up time with them, I know that I got to set it before they leave. I'm doing it in the next 24 to 48 hours. And when I schedule it, I'm going to schedule it what's convenient for them, a location that's close to them. Ideally, I like to do it at their house. That's the most convenient place to meet is at their home. Okay? If not, I will do a location near their area. I'll ask them places like, well, hey, what's a good place for us to get together? They usually want to say, oh, I'll meet you back at your office. I don't want to do that because it lowers the chances of that follow-up happening. So I'll say, and I'll respond by saying, you know what, hey, I'm going to be out in your area. I can either come out to your house or we can meet somewhere near your house. I want to make it what's most convenient for you, so you don't have to drive all the way out there. And sometimes they're like, well, no, it's no problem. I'll see, yeah, seriously, it's no problem for me. Listen, I'm out already. I'll come on out and come and see you. You know, what about the Starbucks that near your home, right? Or what about Starbucks by your work? And so that way it's convenient and it's easy for them to agree to that. Okay, and then I'm going to try to set the time during the day if possible, because we have a saying in our business that we'd love to recruit by day, field train by night. And so I'm going to do my best to try to meet with them during the daytime. Now, if they absolutely can't meet with me during the day and they have to do it on the evening, I'll do it. But ideally, I like to try to meet with them maybe at lunchtime or before work or like at 3 or 4 o'clock if they're a teacher and they get off of work like at 3:30. I can't tell you how many times I followed up or did interviews with people like in their classroom. Okay, so whatever works, but these are some of the fundamentals. Okay, next thing, what we will have for you on the event is what we call a guest questionnaire. And a lot of teams don't use this. We do. It's one of our advantages. It works. There's a lot of psychology behind it, but I love it. Okay, we built our team through the guest questionnaire, and this is how it works. This guest questionnaire, we're going to put this in the hands of every guest that comes to the meeting. Your managers will have these printed and ready to go. And every guest, we're going to ask them to fill this out before they leave, because this is a tool that helps us to set up that follow-up time. All right? And so here's what they do. We get that guest questionnaire in their hands. They're going to fill out their name, phone number, email, who invited them. Okay? But this section right here is where we're going to ask them to circle their interest level. How well did they like the meeting? Okay? And because we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know, did they love it? Did they hate it? Did they, they can't wait to get out of here? Or they want to join right now, right? And so by the way they circle, that tells us a lot behind it. So for example, if you give that to a couple and they fill it out and they circle a 10, man, that tells you they loved it. They're in, man. They're ready to go. This is a great couple. They're excited. And they're fired up, right? And so they've got a 10, and it should be relatively easy for you to set that follow-up time with them, right? Because they have more questions. They want the next step. They're ready to go. So when I say, what do you look like tomorrow? I can come on over and kind of go over the next phase of information with you. They're going to say, yeah, we're pretty open. Let's do it anytime, whatever works for you. I'm going to say, okay, great. Well, listen, I know what side of town you're on, so why don't I just come out? I'm going to be out there anyways. Why don't I just come out to the house and you guys write down any questions you have from now till then. And we'll go from there. We'll see how it sounds at that point, okay? Great. They're excited and we're going, right? What if they circle a 5? Right? Well, in my opinion, what I've seen through the years is that if anybody who circles a 2 or higher, they're interested. They just might be very skeptical. And that's fine too. A lot of the best ones are 5s sometimes, or a 2. That just means they have questions. They're like, man, I like this, but I got a lot of questions. This sounds almost too good to be true. I want to know how everything works first, all that kind of stuff, right? So if I pick that up, and they circle a 2 through a 7, I'm going to pretty much respond the same way. I'm going to say, oh, great, awesome. Well, hey, listen, I think the next step for us would be to set up a time we can get together. I'd like to get you the next phase of information. I know tonight didn't answer all your questions, but when we get together, we can talk more about how everything kind of works, and how our licensing works, the training, how you get paid, promotions, all that kind of stuff. And if everything sounds good at that point, we can kind of talk about the next step for you at that point as well. But what do you look like tomorrow? And I'm going for it. I'm going for that follow-up time with that same individual, okay? When we came to an event, believe it or not, Edith filled out a questionnaire. I filled out a questionnaire. My wife, she circled a 10. I circled a 2. Okay? I was interested, but I was skeptical, right? And so a 2 became an RVP, right? So, the only ones that typically aren't willing to proceed forward sometimes are if they circle like a 1 or they write in like a 0, okay? That individual, that usually means that maybe somebody offended them with what they said, they didn't like something, or they have an attitude problem themselves usually, So if that happens, they have questions. If I see like they circled a 1, I'm going to say like, oh, well, hey, was everything okay? Was everything making sense to you? Did you have some questions? And they're going to tell you, you know what I didn't like what that guy said about, banks. I work at a bank and, that's not true. We like to help people too, right? That you got offended because we were talking about how bad banks are and how they rip people off, right? And so I'll usually polish that over and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry that it came across that way. That's not really probably what they meant entirely, but you know what? It's probably a good idea that we get together anyways, because what I'd like to do is maybe talk to you about that and kind of see what your concerns were and see if maybe if there's any way that we can still maybe help you or whatnot. What do you guys look like tomorrow? We can definitely get more info to you tomorrow. And I'm still trying to go for the follow-up time with them, okay? So, all right, so that's that section in there. They can check if they're interested in making more money, having an F&A done, getting a life insurance quote, being an owner in Primerica office, so they can do that. But right here is where you're going to fill out the information for the follow-up visit. And it reminds you, 24 to 48 hours, okay? The time of when you're doing it, and then the location. You're going to write those things down. What we also have down here at the bottom, now this is new, and I'm excited about this as well, is that this is the 15 hours. This is what you're going to do with them the next 7 to 10 days. So this guest questionnaire, you're going to keep that, and you're going to hold on to that for the first couple of weeks with them. And you're just going to check these off as you do all of these steps with them over the next 7 to 10 days. And each one of these, you might do 1 or 2 of these at an appointment, but they can all be designed to be their own appointment. All right, so for example, the new rep guide, that's you. Once they submit their IBA, you're going to want to set up a time to go over and deliver to them their new rep guide. And that's everything they need to know on how to get started, right? Qualifying their list, their training list, top 25 list, that's an appointment. You want to go through that, right? Set up who we're going to go see for their training. The personal F&A, you want them to have their own program done, right? So that's an appointment. You're going to want to do that as well. Primerica apps, show them how to download the app and how to work the app, how to get on POL, show them how to navigate through that stuff, right? The op meeting, make sure that one of the meetings is that you have them come to the next op meeting, right? Saturday training, make sure they show up to that. Meeting their spouse. If you haven't met their spouse through this process yet, you definitely want to do that, okay? And then their first training appointment. To me, that's kind of how you know that you've won through this 15 hours, is that not when they submit their IBA. Guys, listen, to me, that has little value. There's a ton of people that submit their IBAs that never do anything, that don't do a single thing. That means nothing to me. To me, is I want somebody who's going to show up, who's going to be licensed, and who's going to produce. And so I look at a recruit is actually a recruit. When we're sitting in the car together, and I'm able to say, hey, John, so tell me about this couple we're about to see. I know that we have got through this, we've navigated successfully through the 15 hours, and now I have somebody who has a shot to win, right? We have put him on the right path for success. All right, let's move on. So our big event, man, you know, we're expecting anywhere between 40 and 65, 70 guests that will be watching and checking out Primerica for the very first time. I'm excited about it, but it's going to be a organized chaos. It's going to be crazy. There's going to be people all over the place, and so I want to make sure that we do this. We want them to fill out their guest questionnaire before they leave. All right, we talked about that, so you're going to make sure you get that to them. But before you do that, I want to tell you what you don't say. When you have that guest questionnaire, I want to tell you what you don't say, okay, what you do not say. You do not say, hey, so what did you think, right? You never ask them, what did you think? I want you to erase that from your mind and erase that from your vocabulary that night. Here's why. When you go up to somebody and you say, so what did you think? Here's what they're going to respond. Everybody's going to respond this way. Wow, this is pretty interesting. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It sounded pretty good. You know, but hey, you know, we're going to talk it over. We're going to think about it. We'll let you know. Hey, we'll give you a call. But man, this was really interesting. It was really informative. You know, we'll get back to you, right? So the moment you ask, what do you think, you've relinquished all your control and you've given it all onto them, okay? So you never, ever, ever ask, what did you think? In fact, what you do is you tell them, wasn't it great? Wasn't that great, right? So when I have my guests there, I'm taking that guest questionnaire to them. I'm walking up to them and I'm like, man, wasn't that great? And you know what their response to that almost every single time is they're going to say, yeah, that was pretty great, right? Or if I tell them, man, wasn't that awesome? They're going to say, man, that was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty cool. I liked it. They're going to respond favorably because you're responding. You're speaking favorably. And then I'm going to give them this guest questionnaire. And I'm going to tell them, hey, listen, do me a favor, fill this out. We have all of our guests fill it out before they leave. And I'm going to give them a pen. They're going to sit there for a few minutes. They're going to write it. They're going to fill it all out. I'm going to look over that guest questionnaire. They circled the 8. And I'm going to tell them, well, man, hey, listen, what we need to do, the next step is to get the next phase of information to you. You know, I'd love to go over, how we get paid, promotions, training, licensing, all that kind of stuff. I know today didn't answer all that, but I'd like to get with you tomorrow if you can. And what do you guys look like tomorrow? Do you guys have any time tomorrow that we can get together? And I'm going because I want that 24 to 48 hour follow-up time. He says, yeah, you know, we've got some time tomorrow. We can meet maybe like, I was thinking maybe like 1. I go, 1 works for me. That's great. I'll just come out to your house if you guys don't mind. You know, he says, yeah, that's fine. Let me just make sure I got their address, and I'll come out and see it now. And I'll end with this. I'll say, now do me a favor. Write down any questions you guys have between now and then, and when we get together, we'll go over all of that next time. And in their mind, they're happy with that. They're excited about that because they're going to get all their questions answered, and we're going to follow up. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do with my upline is I'm going to go to my upline. My upline's going to ask me, so how did it go with that new couple? And if I say, great, we're meeting them tomorrow at 1, my upline knows that I did the right job and I scheduled the follow-up. If I say pretty much anything outside of that, they know that I didn't do it correctly. If I say something like this, and this is what the uplines do not want to hear. They do not want to hear this. Please do not say this to your upline. Oh, it went great. When they ask, how did it go with that new couple? Oh, it went great. I'm going to call them tomorrow to schedule a follow-up time. Your upline, when I hear that, I cringe at that. I just think like, oh no, you messed up. You dropped the ball. Their excitement level, I know, I'm seeing that meter just go all the way down. And then I look at them and I think like, man, you're still a rookie, really, and you got to get over that. I believe everybody makes mistakes, but it's crazy to continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again. I made this follow-up mistake, but I learned quickly and we stopped making that mistake, okay? So don't do that. Make sure that you tell them, wasn't that great? Not, what did you think? Then you ask them what day works better, right? Sunday or Monday, because that's the 48 hours, because our event's on a Saturday, so you've got to meet with them Sunday or Monday. That's your deadline, Sunday or Monday, okay? Sunday or Monday. And then you want to follow up with them right away to do that. I'll ask this sometimes, but sometimes if it's going really good and really exciting, I just go for it. Now this time I say, hey, what do you look like tomorrow? Let's get together tomorrow, okay? So the next things, if you're new, have your managers help you with this process. If you're nervous about setting that follow-up time, have them fill out the guest questionnaire. When they're done, take them and the guest questionnaire to your upline, and your upline will help you set that follow-up time with them. Okay, they'll look over that guest questionnaire when you bring it to them. They'll say, great, oh, fantastic, man, wasn't this awesome? All right, what do you look like tomorrow? I'd like to get the next phase of information to you, talk to you about the licensing, the training, how you get paid, promotions, all that kind of good stuff. I was thinking maybe like 2. Does 2 work for you guys? Does? Good, great. Okay, I'll come out and see you. Where do you guys live at? What side of town? That's great. I'll come out there. What's your address? And just do me a favor. In the meantime, any questions you might have, write them down, and we'll go over all of that stuff tomorrow. Okay, sound good? Great. And you got it done. You got the follow-up time set. I am not going to be tomorrow calling people, hey, listen, how would you think of the meeting? Can I schedule a follow-up time? I will not be doing that stuff because that's chase mode, and I don't like that mode. That mode does not work long-term, okay? If they leave without a time set, you blew it. I want you to think that way. I want you to be mature enough to take responsibility, and if somebody leaves, just walk up to me on the event and just say, hey, that couple, that great one, I blew it. I blew it. We got them there, but we didn't set a follow-up time. I know they're done, right? I would at least feel better about that because I would be like, okay, at least you get it. At least you know you didn't do it. As opposed to the person that thinks that they're going to get that person in. Be mature in your business, okay? So you should be aware of your team's guests. Uplines, some of you guys are having downline bringing guests, and they're all in tow, and they're all going to be there that day. And you've got to monitor all that and be aware of all that stuff's going on during the meeting. Yeah, you're gonna love the stuff that's going on, but you're working. You're like a hawk watching everybody, man. You've got the door. It's kind of like you're like barricading that door. Nobody leaves there without that follow-up time set, right? And if somebody leaves early, you're up with that person and you're following them out and you're getting that follow-up time set. Many a times I've set a follow-up time in the parking lot, right? I'm walking out. I'm like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh man, sorry, we got to leave early. I was like, hey, no problem, but hey, listen, fill this out for me, please, because we turn these in for all the guests, so I want to make sure that you at least fill this out. They're like, well, we're in a big hurry. Oh, it'll take a minute. They fill it out really quickly for me. They're filling it out. Great, the circle of 7. I'm saying, okay, great. Well, hey, listen, I know you guys got to go. I'll walk you to your car. I'm walking them out there. I say, but look, let's get together tomorrow. I'll fill you in all the stuff you're missing, and kind of the next phase of information. I can come out maybe like around 1 if that works for you guys. Yeah, that could work. Can we just call you? I said, well, look, let's put it down. I'll put it down at 1. If it doesn't work, call me. But if I don't hear from you, I'll be there tomorrow at 1. Okay? They're like, okay, yes, thanks, Lenny, man. Sorry we had to go. No problem. But hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Boom. And then I'm sending them off. But I got the follow-up time set. They did not make it out without that follow-up time set. Okay? It's that important. It's that big. In my 14 years, I had one instance where I had one guy that wouldn't set the follow-up time with me and said I was too pushy. It was one time in 14 years. You know, I pride myself in not being pushy. I don't like being pushy. I don't like feeling like I'm trying to sell people stuff. I just don't like that position. I don't. And there was a guy who came to one of our meetings. This was when I was still in Shane's base shop. And it wasn't my personal guest. It was a guest of one of my downlines. But I already knew that we got to set follow-ups, right? And I was already a crusader on this part. So the guy's there, and I go, great, man. Well, hey, listen, wasn't that great? And he said, yeah, this was great. And he circled like an 8. And I go, hey, well, listen, what's a good time for us to get together? I'd like to get you the next phase of information. And this was like on a Friday night. And I go, I'd like to get you the next phase of information, answer more of your questions, and see, kind of go from there, right? And he goes, well, I got to check my schedule at work. And this was Friday, and I was asking for Saturday, and he said he had to check his schedule. And I was like, so you don't know your schedule for tomorrow yet? And he was like, no, they posted. I got to call it in. I got to get on, call it in and see what my schedule is. And I was like, okay. I said, well, listen, why don't we do this? What's the latest you would get out? Anyway, and he goes, well, it just depends, If they've got a lot of work for us, we could stay late. I go, well, 6, 7, 8. He goes, it really just depends. I go, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we just set a follow-up time, like for 8? And if that doesn't work for you, then just call me, and then we'll reschedule. He goes, well, I got to talk to my wife too. I got to let her know and see what's a good time with her. And I go, hey, listen, that's okay. But again, if I don't set a follow-up time with you right here, I might get busy, and I don't want to miss you. So long story short, he said, buddy, you're being kind of pushy, is what he told me. And I've never had anybody ever tell me that up until that point, and I've never had anybody tell me that since, right? And so I started to think about it. I stopped for a second because he kind of set me back because I had never heard that before. And I told him, I go, the reason is because in my experience, if we're not able to set a follow-up time tonight, I'm busy, you're busy, the chances of us really ever getting together are slim to none, and ultimately we're going to end up, never getting together, And in my experience, usually when people don't want to set a follow-up time, it's because they're really not interested. And he said, well, yeah, I guess I'm really not that interested. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. And I thanked him for coming. I was glad to meet him, and I shook his hand and sent him on his way, right? But I thought, man, you bozo, you should have circled a 0 or a 1 on that thing, right? Why'd you circle an 8 for, right? So my point is that if they don't schedule a time with you, they weren't that interested. People don't ever say no. They don't ever, kick themselves out. They don't ever quit on you. That kind of stuff when it comes to this kind of follow-up type of stuff. Their way of bowing out is to try not to set a time with you, right? So if you can't set a time with them, they're probably just not that interested. Okay, gang? So listen, Saturday is going to be awesome. Make sure that you're a veteran and that you set your follow-up times with folks. Do these principles and fundamentals, follow them the right way, and I promise you, you're going to grow your team, and you are a future builder in Primerica. Love you guys.